Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order because we want to leave plenty of time. You guys are in for a treat, and we want to be able to get to your questions, too. So, Happy New Year. Good to have everyone back. 2024 is going to be an awesome year. So, let's see. We want to welcome our elected officials. I know we have some that came in. We have Senator Don Ibsen, Representative Jack over there. We have Mayor Billings. That's the elected official table, I guess. And then I know, let's see, did Commissioner make it in? I think Adam Snow will be joining us as well. Did I miss anyone? All right, welcome. We appreciate it. Oh, Janine is our newly elected Santa Clara City Councilwoman. So congratulations, Janine. Okay. All right. And then we also want to welcome our party leadership. We have Lesa, who you'll be hearing from later, and we also have Barry Sawyer, our vice chair, so thank you for being here, Barry. All right, and then today, yes, I'm going to pause, is actually Utah's birthday, so I wanted to make a note of that. Happy birthday, Utah, 128 years old. All right, and then we have lots of good events coming up, so you can take note in your calendar, but we have the Riley Gaines event coming up, so if you didn't hear about that, Riley Gaines is the national champion swimmer who had to swim against a transgender biological male. And so she's been speaking around the country for speaking up for women and girls. And she's coming to St. George. So you'll want to make sure you come. That's January 19th. It's at the university. Our college Republicans, in conjunction with Phil Lyman, are hosting that. And so I think there's been emails sent out and there's things on our social media, but if you need a link to that, let me know. Grab your tickets as soon as you can. And then we have Lincoln Day, our favorite, yay, coming up. And the Republican Women has tables. So we'd love for you to sit at our table. So, and our tickets are really the best value. It's $75, and we let you meet with Buck Sexton, our speaker. So let Lesa know if you want to be at WCRW tables, and you can pay her today or let us know. We'll make arrangements. But we always usually have the most tables, so it's good. Buck is a great speaker. You won't want to miss it. He took over from the Rush Limbaugh show. If you listen to the Radio 890, very good. So that will be February 10th is that event. And then Caucus Boot Camp is this Saturday for those high school junior and seniors. Or if you want to come help, I'm sure they would love your help too. And that's at Dixie High School this Saturday. And then you'll notice on the table there's a volunteer sheet. I realized we didn't print enough for each person. You can either write it on that or write it on your note card or send me a message. This year we want to keep track of all your volunteer hours because I know you guys are doing a lot for campaigns, for your precinct service, all of that. There's political and there's non-political. So if you do service in your church or schools or anything like that, hospitals, you can count out those hours. So be sure to jot those down each month. That helps our club in the National Republican Women. So we will put those in for you. And then, let's see, what else am I missing?
Haley,
yes.
How far back can we go?
It starts fresh this year and next year. So start from here on.
Start from January on.
Yeah, January on, yes. Did someone else have a question on that? Okay. And then also the Flag Initiative, I've been asked to announce they need some help for this last push for the month. So if you can, if you want to walk around your neighborhood, gather signatures for that to get on the ballot. I think Chad, you're a good point person. Talk to Chad or one of us. We can connect you and get a packet if you want to volunteer that way. And then Lesa will touch more on our caucus later. So I think those are all the announcements. I threw a lot at you, but let us know if you have questions. We're going to get started with our prayer by our chaplain, Sharon Simmons. And then Charlotte's going to do our pledge and our Americanism. Following Charlotte, we'll go to our membership by Joanne, and then we will turn the time over to Alexis to introduce our program. Thank you.
Does this one work? Okay, there's two up here. Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, we're thankful to thee to be together at the Abbey Inn as members, new members, and guests, and we're thankful to thee for the nourishment provided by thee through our caterer. We're thankful to thee for a new year full of hope, possibilities, and the opportunity to effect change in our leadership of our great country. We're thankful to thee to welcome Rabbi Helene Aindenbinder and Lesa Sandberg, our guest speakers, and we look forward to hearing from them. We're grateful to thee for Congress's ongoing work investigating and exposing corruption in our government. We're thankful to thee for the signs of increasing citizens' discontent with the condition of our country caused by wokeness. We're grateful to thee for the media, whose hubris reveals the left's plans, and by so doing are fostering greater unity and strength among freedom-loving Americans. We're grateful to thee for those within and outside our party who fight back against the tyranny of those currently in our federal government. Father, we ask thy blessing for the Abbey Inn and catering staff who support us. May we experience another year of our good business relationship with them. We ask thy blessing for Rabbi Helene, a personal blessing for her and her work, and a blessing for all Jewish people living with us in this beautiful area. May they all feel at home and supported by our community. We ask thy blessing for the current situation in Israel. May it be resolved soon. And may Israel prosper and live free once again with the full support of our country and others. We ask thy blessing for Lesa, for her vast knowledge of our caucus system, and for her perpetual enthusiasm, leading and working for our beliefs as chair of our county party. We ask thy blessing for our state representatives as they begin a new congressional session on the 16th. May they address issues of greatest concern to their constituents and accomplish beneficial change for us. Lastly, Father, we ask thy blessing for the American and Israeli families who have lost loved ones, and for those families who are still missing loved ones in the conflict. May they be safely returned home. And for thy blessing for Israel, may she be successful in overcoming this evil visited upon her, and may she be triumphant and secure in peace. Father, we humbly ask these blessings in the name of thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I hope my voice holds up for this. Americans are known for their courage when it comes to standing up for their rights, defending others and their freedoms, and trying to affect change in our society. I'm sure all of you have heard the story of Rosa Parks. But did you know that 3 years before Rosa Parks refused to move to the back of the bus in 1955, Sarah Keyes refused to give up her seat on the bus. On August 1st, 1952, a 23-year-old African-American Women's Army Corps private on leave from Fort Dix, New Jersey, Sarah Keyes boarded a bus from Trenton to her home in North Carolina. This was her first visit home since joining the military. When the bus stopped in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, shortly after midnight to change drivers, the new driver told Keyes to give up her bus to a white Marine. She refused to do so. He made everyone get off the bus and transferred to another bus except for Keyes. 2 policemen took her by each arm and escorted her to a police car. Jailers then put her in a cell with a mattress so filthy that she was afraid to sit down. So she stood all night in full uniform, including her 2.5-inch heels. Keyes later said, "I paced the floor all night. I cried and I prayed. What's happening to me? What am I going to do?" She was released the next day and fined $25, a lot more in today's money. When she got home, her family, who had no idea where she had been, was shocked to hear what happened. Her sister, Cornelia, said, "She was the quietest of all of us. What's happened to Sarah?" Her father encouraged his daughter to take legal action. After all, in 1946, the Supreme Court had declared the state law enforcing segregation on interstate buses unconstitutional in the Morgan v. Virginia case, though there was a loophole that let private companies make their own rules. There was a Time magazine article reported back then that the justices had ducked the racial question and settled everything on the basis of comfortable traveling. The NAACP referred the Keyes family to a World War II Women Army Corps officer, W. Johnson Roundtree, herself no stranger to Jim Crow legislation after serving as a recruiter in the South. She filed a complaint with the Interstate Commerce Commission on Keyes' behalf. In Keyes v. Carolina Coach Company, which also responded to another NAACP case challenging the segregation on trains and terminal waiting rooms, the ICC ruled, and I'll quote, "We conclude that the assignment of seats in interstate buses so designated as to imply the inherent inferiority of a traveler solely based on race or color must be regarded as subjecting the traveler to unjust discrimination and undue and unreasonable prejudice and disadvantage," unquote. By this time, Sarah Keyes Evans was married, out of the military, and working her dream job as a hairstylist in Harlem. Her story may have ended there, but the fight to end segregated travel reached new level of national attention when 6 days after the ICC decision was made public in November 1955, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger, catalyzing the year-long Montgomery bus boycott. The ICC didn't enforce the Keyes decision until 1961. And that was amid attacks on freedom riders who rode interstate buses to raise awareness. I don't know if a lot of you remember that, but I was pretty young at that time. And while Americans today enjoy the fruits of Sarah Keyes Evans' persistence, hers is not a household name the way Rosa Parks is, as she had chosen to stay out of the limelight. She said reliving the traumatic events had become too emotionally exhausting. Sadly, Sarah Keyes Evans passed away on November 16, 1923, at the age of 94. We are grateful for Sarah, her service, and her perseverance in leading the way to difficult, challenging times in our nation. Will you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Charlotte, was it 1973 or 20? Wouldn't have been 20.
When she died.
When she died.
23, this past November.
Oh, 2020.
You said 19.
You said 19.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
It doesn't work.
2020.
Sounds like genealogy.
It was interesting how you did that.
Thank you. As a former history teacher, I so love getting the history and the stories. Thank you, Charlotte. Just want to give our membership report so far for January. We're starting off well. We've got a few new members for the year. We currently have 40 members and 13 associate members. Associates are those that are men or don't live in our district, and we really appreciate them joining as well and coming to our luncheons. We've also got 34 gem members, which we love because that helps us not have to fundraise when you throw a little extra into our club by becoming a silver, gold, or a diamond member. We have a new diamond member, Senator Don Ibsen. Thank you so much for joining this year. And then Mitzi Rogers. Where is Mitzi? I know she came right here. Mitzi came. She's a new silver gem. A new member as well, right? Yeah. And then we have 3 new gold members who have renewed. Charlotte Devlin. You'll stand up. Jennifer will bring your badge. Thank you. Or wave your hand in the air. Alexis Enns joined as a gold. And Suzanne Moore. Thank you. And please bring guests and spread the word. I didn't even know about Republican Women until a few years ago, and it's really been such a education and blessing to my life to get involved in the community, get to know so many people who are making a difference in our community. I love the community that I've gotten to know as I've been here. Thank you.
Hey, well, today is going to be a treat, so I'm going to try to be quick so that you can hear from the amazing speakers that we have here today. It is my privilege to introduce to you Rabbi Helene Aindenbinder. She is the rabbi of the Jewish of Greater Zion, and she's the past president of St. George Interfaith Council. She participates in prayer over the city. In fact, I just found out she's going to be in Santa Clara doing ours soon. So I'm excited for that. She's been an instructor at the Institute for Continued Learning, ICL, for Judaic Studies. She's a chaplain at the hospital. After an interesting experience she shared with me, she was asked to be a member of the Utah Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. I believe it was Senator Lee's, his group that asked her to do that, which is very exciting. We like Senator Lee. She, in all of her spare time, she is also an artist, and she is part of the Southern Utah Artists Guild, SWAG. She has had her work displayed in 3 museums. In her other spare time, she has written a book, A Novice's Guide Through the Jewish Holidays. She also just became a great-grandparent. I could go on and on and on, but I am really very excited for you to hear from her and welcome her to
Thank you to the Republicans Women Organization, and to Alexis Enns, who called, and I said, let me change my schedule. I just flew in from St. George to Florida, and I don't have my calendar in front of me. So I switched. So I thought it was important. Herodias in the 5th century, the only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. He was known as the first historian, quoted by Roman writer Cicero. I will go into the war of what's going on in Israel, but I believe we should be knowledgeable women and gentlemen who are here. So I'm going to try to do in less than 15, 20 minutes, three millennia of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. So if there's questions after or whatever, there's also, I printed a little gift of maps on the table. So when I get more towards the modern time, and if you have somebody that wants to reproduce it, that's fine. So we start with Abraham and Sarah in the 17th century, which is 1900 BCE. The Jewish people are on a lunar calendar. We start our holidays and everything at night because what did God have to create first? Light. This was dark. Okay, so he believes in the belief of one God, which is monotheism. And the area of that time was Mesopotamia. He lived in Ur, the city of Ur in the Chaldees, which is by the Tigris and the Euphrates River. And the known route in the area north was along the Mediterranean Sea. At that known time in history, Hebrews, Visigoths, and the barbaric tribe of the Hebreu. The Hebreu are not the Hebrews. It's a totally different, horrific barbaric tribe that lived at that time. So there were polytheistic people, belief in many deities, and pagans. Notice I left out Christianity and Muslims. We're getting to them in like another millennium. So, Exodus was 1280, and the land at that time was Canaan. If you go with the northern route on the Mediterranean in the ancient time, you have the Phoenicians. They created the dye of purple. Very expensive to find out their history. Very peaceful people, Canaan. And then you have the Philistines, the David and Goliath story, which is now known to you as the Gaza Strip. And you also had Egypt at the same time. I'd like to give you all the history of the ancient and what's happening at the same time now. As we go further, the conquest in 1250 was done by Joshua of the land of Canaan. We go to our first king, which usually we didn't have in those days, but we want to be like everybody else. So our first king was Saul. He dies in battle, and in 1004, 965 BCE, the ruler becomes King David. King David conquers the land and also makes the capital Jerusalem. It's Yerushalayim, Yer meaning city, Shalom meaning peace. It's an oxymoron. I don't know if Jerusalem's peaceful, but I just was there, unfortunately, before the war started, so it was very peaceful there. But he decided, and this was our area, our homeland. This was the given land of the holy people, at that time, Jews. King Solomon builds the first temple in 965 to 928. 922, the Israelite kingdom is divided into two nations. Everybody wonders where are the Jews? We had 12 tribes, remember them? Well, as women, you should remember Dinah. Okay, Leah's daughter to Jacob, she does not get a tribe. Wait for it, ladies. Whatever. So Judah has 2 tribes, and Israel has 10. Now, 721, the northern kingdom, Israel exiles all the Israelites, and this was done by the Assyrians, not the Syrians you know today, but Assyrians, marking the disappearance and the fall of that particular part known as Israel. 586, the fall of Judah, exile to Babylonia. Beginning of the Egyptian diaspora. Diaspora means anything outside of the Israel or Canaan or Judea at that time. Some people went to Egypt, but the majority went to Babylonia. In 538, the Edict of Cyrus, 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 allowed Israelites to return in 516 and 515 to Jerusalem, and he helped them rebuild their holy temple. Now, in 332, Alexander the Great conquers the land, Judea, Israel. The area is now called Palestine, after their Greek goddess, Hallo. She was a sea witch. 165, Maccabean revolt by the Hasmonean Jews, our Hanukkah story. It was for religious freedom. We become a nation. We mint coins. If you have one today, it's worth millions of dollars. We'll go to a museum, it's cheaper. And we give out chocolate coins and we spin dreidel because the war lasted 25 years, not the 8 days that you hear, that's about the oil that lasted. But we had a religious freedom. At the end of this, I'm bringing you now into the modern world. 0 to 63. Somebody you know was born then. We just have a holiday for Jesus. So Romans now conquer Palestine again. We have the fall of Masada in 73. Now starts the anti-Semitism. We had just battles before, but this starts anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism means the hatred of Jews. Pure hatred, not to be compared to other hatred of other people or faiths. 325, the First Council of Nicaea. This starts the Roman Catholic Church formally. It does not want to ask a Jew when their Passover Seder is, so they pick the Palm Sunday and they pick Easter Sunday. Now I'm mentioning another thing, 330 years later, 632, Muhammad arises and he becomes the prophet and starts Islam. He takes a little of Judaism, a little of Christianity, and he thought both the Jews and the Christians would say, yay. No, we said no. So just to give you a little briefing. So now 1096 to 1189 was the first crusade by Pope Urban II, and many crusades after. As the crusades came throughout Europe to go back to the Holy Land in that area, we find that we have an Ottoman Turk Empire. Okay, if you hear the word caliphate, this is an army of warriors. So I'll get to that, just keep that in mind. So we have the Ottoman Empire. And then 1348, we have the Black Death. Of course, you know Jews caused that. We killed 2/3 of Europe by killing them. But the bubonic plague, if you don't know, is a horrible disease. But what caused it, back in the day of ancient times, they would throw dead bodies from their ships, catapult them into cities. Rats took the horrible plague and spread it. Okay, so much for that history. We did not do that. Palestine, okay, so now Jews continued living in the now known called Palestine, Europe, and the UK. However, we were expelled from all countries by 1492, even though Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Some believe he's Jewish, which he did not leave on a Jewish holiday, and he did write, like I do, a little marking says, Baruch Hashem, blessed is the Lord. So he didn't want to go on a holiday. So just so you know, and most of the pirates in those days, you could read a book, The Pirates of the Caribbean, were Jewish. If you ever go to the Caribbean, you'll see Jewish stars with Jewish names, because that was their only way of surviving the Inquisition. Forget about the Inquisition. At the same time the Inquisition was going on, you had the Ottoman Empire, where Spain was the flourishing capital. I'm watching my time. What happens is that was where the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims shared secular ideology, mathematics, science, medicine, writing of poetry, and it was phenomenal. And then, of course, it ended. 1770s, I'm going fast, now we're in a new world. And in 1770s, French has a revolution. We have a revolution in America. Okay, Jews are now fully emancipated. But even back in Peter Stuyvesant's time, he didn't want Jews to have equal rights. The Jews from Recife was up in what was known as New Amsterdam, today New York City. And the West India Company, remember, Jews couldn't put our money with Christian money. So therefore, we opened our own banks, and we were rich enough to be part of the stock exchange. And for that, oh, you need money? We'll give you money. West Indies. So when Peter Stuyvesant said no, you had to say to the Jews, you're equal citizens. And they were. We manned a lot of things. So this is an emancipation. In 1800, Judaism schisms. So yes, I'm a woman rabbi. In the 1980s, the Reform movement, but I'm going back, we can be clergy. Okay. But conservative was a little closer to 1990. And about 2-3 years ago, an Orthodox woman became, oh no, she wasn't a rabbi, but she had her doctorate in Judaic studies, and she's called a teacher. A rabbi means a master of teachers for the Jewish people. And therefore, she can only teach women. I can teach everybody. Now, just keep that in mind. Now, and that begins Zionism. And Zionism is the belief that the Jewish people have its own land, its own country. So we go now, I inverted things. World War I, the Ottoman Empire ends. Because World War I, they died off. And we took over, and the maps that you'll have on your table will show you what goes on through 1916 and 1921, but I figured this is a good grouping of maps that I use at the university. And all right, and then we have what's known after World War I. Another war creeps up in 1938 to 1945, known as World War II. This is the darkest history for the Jewish people. It's called the Holocaust. Real concentration camps, real torture, gas chambers. We lost 5 million innocent Jewish men and women, over 1 million innocent Jewish children. And the world said nothing. Only a few countries allowed Jews in. London and in the United Kingdom, the children's train. After a while, no more children. Denmark, in one night under King Christian X, the whole country, whatever boats you had, you sailed them to Sweden. Granted, there were mines, and some people did die in the transport. They came back to Denmark, their businesses, their homes, their cattle were all given back. The Jews that survived and went back to Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania were killed. Because, oh, you were supposed to be killed. So they killed them. Because they took over their businesses, their homes. So now I'm telling you this because that was the League of Nations. Now we come in World War I, but now we come into the United Nations, which I think is not united and not all nations, but that's me. Now what happens is with the end of World War II, we find May 5th, 1948, the world has to vote if the Jewish people could have the Holy Land known as Palestine. America did the deciding vote. Yay. So we have Israel. Within a day, we were attacked. There's so many numerous attacks on Israel that it would take me a couple of weeks to tell you all, and the major taking land, giving land, how many people died, but the most important that will associate more with October 7th was Yom Kippur, which is known as the 6-Day War. They attacked us on our holiest day of a Sabbath where we don't work. Well, you kill one Jew, especially you attack one Jew, we become tribal. We might not agree on how you practice Judaism between the Reform, the Orthodox, and Conservative. You kill a Jew or you attack the Jewish people. We're not 1938. We're in the modern era. We have a big army, and we will do whatever we can to protect our people, the Christian people, the Muslim people, and the Armenians, and anybody else that lives in Israel. As my son once said, everybody thinks Israel's only for Jews. And I said, I'll have to repeat that to people when I speak to them. And there's Hindus, Baha'i, and Muslims just think it's their country. It's not. During the 67 war, we reunified Jerusalem. At one point, we couldn't because of one of the wars. We had to get back, and we fought for that. Once again, we lost a third of our people. So if you had a family, everybody lost at least one person. It's a small country. So now what happens, I'm just going quickly. In Israel in 2019, we had a census, 9,021,000 Jewish people. There were 9,021,000 people in Israel, 6,697,000, which is about 74%. Are Jews. 1,890,000 are Israeli Arabs. Why am I not saying Muslim? Because some Arabs are not Muslim, they are pagan, or they can be Coptic Christians or another faith. Some of them are married to Jews, and Jews do marry Muslims. Jews even marry Christians, and Christians marry Muslims and Jews. Okay, so now we know that. And the 434 Israelis are non-Arab, Christians, and other faiths. So now I'm coming into another fun thing. I just want to make sure. 1909, Tel Aviv is the first modern Jewish city founded. Now what's important about Tel Aviv, it's on the Mediterranean Sea. What's more important is a direct line to Jerusalem. It's less than us going from here to Henderson in Nevada. Really big area, right? Okay, it's a small area. How did we get the north part? There's something known as 1929, October 29, 1929, stock market crash. Arabs were poor up north. But why do we need the north? We bought their land. So if you ever see one of the Muslims going, look, my grandfather owned this land, well, you should show them the sale that we bought the land from your grandfather. So what happens is, what's important about the north? That's the river that they're telling you to go from the river to the sea. Of course, someone, I thought he was smart, he said the Euphrates River to the Atlantic, which was close. But the Hatzambani River runs from the north all the way down to the Dead Sea. It's called the River Jordan. Okay, it's fresh water. What do you need in a desert besides oil? Water. Okay, so we thought close, bottom south, desert, go through it, good luck. Okay, so we were protecting Israel, we're protecting the north area, the kibbutzim, our communities, and everybody participates. When I was there in 1997 with my daughter on a congregational trip, I was the border patrol on the Syrian border for 2 nights. Yay, thanks Rabbi for having us be the border patrol. Yes, there were weapons. I didn't see any nocturnal animals running around. So, 1917, I'll go back to the Balfour Declaration, the British support for the establishment of a national homeland in Palestine. Trust me, the Arabs didn't want it and we didn't want the Balfour Agreement. 1922, Churchill's White Paper separates Transjordan from the area affected by the Jewish national home, provisions of the Balfour Declaration on one of the maps that shows you how it's all divided, and you can pass it around. And we now have what's known as the West Bank from the Transjordan split. Now, if I go further, make it all that. So, okay. What I found after the Six-Day War in 1972, I was in Munich at the time at the Olympics. I didn't understand why at the airport we were moved to another place, and I took a train into Luxembourg, and I came off the plane via Iceland to New York, and my mother says they're killing Jews again in Germany. So what are you talking about? I just left the Olympics. Oh, that was the delay at the airport. Israeli soldiers were killed. Not soldiers, athletes. Athletes. And the worst tragedy was this ice skating team couldn't make it to the Olympics. I said, are you kidding me? Like 10 years ago, people died. So when you go through all that of the lack of humanity, yeah, there was an ice skating team that one of them got hurt, and it was an American team. I forgot their names, but I remember the 12 Olympic men that died. And I was delayed. But I was there in 2005 when I was working on a grant with the Israelis and the American Jewish communities in New York and in the Tali school system, and we were separating from the Gaza, bringing it close to October 7th. Give me another minute or two. So what happens in 2005, I met with a lot of important people, who I will not give you their names. And I said, this is the worst deal for land for peace. And we took every Jew out, every Christian if they wanted to go, some maybe stayed, but I think everybody who were Jews and Christians left. And in 2007, Fatah was the ruling party. Hamas comes in. Hamas's main theme is to kill Jews and everybody who's an infidel. Anybody who doesn't believe in Muslim ways, and remember this Shiite and Sunnite, I'm not going into the differences. One is more traditional, women wear full burqa, can't even see through it. Others might just wear a hijab or whatever. Okay, so now I go back. I didn't go back in 2007, but I was there in 2009 again. And I was in an area, I promised my kids I won't go to Sderot, where they're shooting in Katyusha rockets because they lost a grandfather. And I said, I won't go into that area. But I told my husband, if I get caught, just tell him to blow it up wherever I am. But that's my normal saying to my husband, I love you, blow it up if I'm captured. No, it's not laughing matter. And I can't tell my husband sometimes when I was going and where I was going. I said the syllabus has changed daily. So even if I know, I don't. You might have heard the Muslims saying, oh, we want to join into the holy city. I was in that area. I was on the border where there's a wall, like from here to that wall. And we don't call it a wall, we call it a fence. It's a concrete fence. A pregnant woman and a 2-year-old blew herself up, killing our border the security people. So I was there to show support with another woman who was part of my group. And it was important that I was there and know they're not going to be joining that area ever into the Holy Land. October 7th comes, and hopefully I have time. It was on Simchat Torah, the last of all our holy days. It's a celebration of our Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and it was on Shabbat. So once again, it was a surprise attack, but it was years in planning since the Afghani withdrawal by this weak president and the poor advised people. Just telling you, that's why this October 7th happened. They said, America's not gonna help them. They still have hostages in Afghanistan. So and wait, they just took 5 American hostages, paid how much, 6 billion? I'm a little dyslexic, maybe my numbers are off. Per person. Israel, we had Gilad Shalit, who was imprisoned by them for 3 years in the Gaza Strip, and we finally made a deal and released some prisoners from the camps, the prisons that we had, known killers, and now we had to do it again. It was 1 hostage for 3 terrorists. I'm sorry, human life. Now I'm going to tell you the difference, like good and evil. We believe in humanity. Every life is unique. Every life is precious. They don't. They don't. That's it. At the Dover Peace Festival, the killing and taking hostages, the Kibbutzim, some Americans, a British person was killed already. The Thai in Indonesia, you see them because they were volunteering to help on the farms because 300,000 civilians are now in the armed forces of the IDF besides the trained IDF military. Okay, so killing 1,400 people is akin to killing 40,000 Americans. Small country, okay? The slaughtered by the Iranian-backed Hamas, and you keep giving money. Your tax money is going to Iran. You can't deal with somebody who keeps saying, October 7th, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it again, October 7th, another October 7th. Gotta be prepared, people. Now, women were raped by gangs, their pelvises were broken. Were burnt alive on burning tires in front of their parents, and then the parents were tied behind their back and shot behind their heads. Elderly people, women were raped, but there's so many other atrocities I'm not going to go into. It's on YouTube, TikTok. It's horrible, the atrocities. I teach Holocaust studies for 40 years now, and I don't show major pictures of everything. I give my students, and some of you, I know 1 or 2 of you take my classes at the university. I teach Holocaust, anti-Semitism, racism, and Holocaust, and I don't show the pictures. You can read the books and do more research, but I also deprogram after I tell the parts of the history. So now I'm going to say, where are the women's groups? I want you to know who I also am. I'm from a time when women who were married, they said, now you could work. But if you're pregnant, I didn't know pregnancy was contagious like COVID, but they fired you. So I did my pregnancy. I was a fashion designer, and then I became a merchandise buyer for a large concern, Mace department stores that had a concession of jewelry. I was their buyer. And I went after that into other places, and in the showroom, I said, what happened to this person? Oh, she left. She was pregnant, very pregnant. I called her at home, and I said, I'm sorry to hear that you left. Are you feeling okay? She says, they fired me. Would you like to be my witness? I'm doing a class action suit against them. I said, you got me. Her mother and mother-in-law were going to watch the baby. 2 other or 3 other women also were there at the World Trade Center. I forgot what 90th or 100th floor I was on. And we won the class action suit. Years later, I get involved in a lot of things because I'm a woman, but I know what it's like to have a race riot. I know what it's like to have anti-Semitic surrounding me. I know what it's like for neo-Nazis to beat up one of my sons, and I have to teach my son, like I was taught at 8, how to protect themselves. Anti-Semitism is the highest it's ever been. I want you to know now the world is well aware that it's not going to happen again. Israel must do what Israel has to do. You might scream up and down for ceasefires. We're trying very hard to get the hostages out. We just killed one, unfortunately, yesterday, trying to rescue some of them. Whether, I don't know all the information, and it's sad when we lose a hostage because we're trying to get to other hostages. Know that the tunnels, if you see them, they're highly booby-trapped. All the money you gave, instead of helping the infrastructure, they don't even have hot and cold water in the Gaza. But the ideology, as Netanyahu said, has to be changed. And nobody's taking it over but us, Israel. And I agree with him. It's just like when we took over Germany and Japan. You have to get rid of the ideology. Look at Japan and look at Germany. They're friends of the United States. And they're growing and thriving. Palestinian people, we don't have a hatred for. We feel sorry that they're oppressed. And if they speak out, they get killed. This was relevant years ago when they said Israel shut off the electric and water. And it was on the O'Reilly show when he showed a building where the lights were still on. That whole family was slaughtered. Yeah, so Hamas is not that friendly. So I'm saying, where are the women's groups? So I leave it to you. I could only do so much with such little time, and I speak out. I did the interfaith prayer over the city, and I did a prayer for the state of Israel and for peace. And I saw the original writing, and I wrote to the editor-in-chief, not the reporter. I said, Chabad doesn't walk into a church. I was there. Please mention at least my name, since I was there. So they put it back in that I represented the Beit Haverim Jewish community of Greater Zion. So I thank you. If there's questions, yes, do you have a question? Yeah. If you need information or anything, the ladies are more than welcome to. I try to teach her, and I'm like, oh, always want, but I have people that like look at me. I used to say, do you hear me? And they were like waving. I go, okay, and I continue teaching. And 60 people were online. I said, and the poor head of the ICL ran. I said, yeah, I'm not at the science building. I'm all the way on the other side of the football field. He goes, and you're on the 2nd floor. The computer's not working. I said, oh, okay. So they were waving that it wasn't working. I didn't know. So now I have to give a thumbs up. Do you hear me? But now I don't use it. You got to come in person. So questions? Yes.
A week or so ago about 3 hostages that were unfortunately shot as they began to escape. What's the outcome of the investigation?
It's still on. Real information. Yeah, and I have a friend who, every time I see his name, I'm like thrilled he's still alive. He's the president of the Reform Movement in Israel. I met with him at the King David Hotel with my daughter. My grandson was upstairs. And he I said, no, lo dabarti Ivri, my daughter doesn't speak Hebrew. So, okay, I'll speak English. And I told him my friends just moved to Bet El, and his eyes were like big, and it's like from here, where are we? On Bluff, and here, if you go up to Sunset, that's where Ramallah is. So, and if you go, there's an A section controlled by Israel. If there's a B section, it's controlled by the Palestinians. If there's an AB section, it's controlled by both. Good luck. So if you go off the wrong road, you're in trouble. So So, as far as what you hear in the news, please don't believe the media. I tell people, when it first happened, I was watching because I have friends and family, and I was really, really upset, and I got sick. You can't watch this 24/7, please. Please. It's mentally and physically horrible to watch 24/7. But if each of us, and the difference now is the outpouring of love from the Christian communities, from the countries of the world. And you have to understand with that, even though they put the blue and white, yay, what do they need? They need oil. They have to heat. It's winter. They don't want to upset the apple cart in Iran, and we understand that. And by the way, I think America buys oil from Iran. Okay, it's as people in politics and stuff, it has to stop. And like I said to some of you, Chuck Schumer is Jewish. I can't believe it. And you just told me about a professor on campus that's spewing anti-Semitic, and he's Jewish. Yeah, I'm going after this week. I will go down to the university and speak to President Biff Williams. I was the one who did his inauguration and opening speech. He resigned, so I have to work with a new president. But you can't give an inch. If you see the pro-Palestinians, Free Palestine, they're really supporting Hamas. If you see Jews holding up a sign, Jews for Free Palestine, like I said, it's schisms in the 1800s, and there's still a small fraction of Jews that believe Israel shouldn't be with the Jewish people until the Messiah comes, or the second coming of Jesus. Okay, and that's not happening. So if you see these people, just know that they don't represent the Jewish community. And so, is there more questions? Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker doesn't really need an introduction. She's our fearless leader, the Washington County Republican Party Chair, Lesa Sandberg, and I thought they did a great job. She is always continually enthusiastic about caucus, and so we are excited for her to share that enthusiasm with us here today.
This screen doesn't appear to be on. Actually, I don't know if either screen is on, but we'll see if it comes up on my computer. Do you see both? Okay, so the one's on, so we're gonna get started. Before, while she figures that out, and before I get all the way started, I just wanted to let you know, as what I talk about today in caucus, our budget for caucus is about $25,000. It takes a lot to put on a caucus. We have 121 locations that caucus takes place at that we have to pay for, besides the advertising and the presidential preference poll, everything else we're doing. So we appreciate WCRW's support at our Lincoln Day, because that's where we raise that money. So if you weren't planning on going, I hope you change your mind and come, because we need money. And we have a really good speaker. Buck Sexton's going to be awesome. So please come and participate with us in that. All right, we're going to start right off the bat. This is a presentation that we gave 2 years ago to people who in the community were new to the community or hadn't ever attended caucus, and they wanted to know what the heck this whole caucus word is, hadn't even heard the word caucus. So before I start, let me ask this. How many of you attended caucus 2 years ago? Okay, a good amount of you, very good. How many of you have attended caucus, like lots, many times? Okay, so good. All right, so let's talk about how we can, okay, I gotta know how to do this. So just for those who haven't attended caucus, many of you have maybe seen this already, but I want you to, okay, why is this working, kids? Okay, here it is.
Every 2 years, you and your neighbors come together in a meeting called the caucus to vote for those who will best represent you. Now, these representatives are called delegates because they're delegated the responsibility of researching the candidates. For example, John, your friendly, trusted neighbor, has always been there for you and serves in the community as your delegate. In reality, the individuals elected as your delegates are your respected neighborhood leaders like John. To be elected as a delegate, you must receive a majority of the vote. This ensures the views of the majority are represented. You vote for your friend John, or perhaps you are selected as a delegate to represent your neighborhood. Your voice is heard through empowering delegates you know, trust, and can converse with. The caucus system allows you to get on with your life, while John worries about the politics. The delegates you select are charged with the task of thoroughly interviewing candidates for office. This is the reason Utah is the best managed state. The caucus system requires candidates to speak directly to voters. In primary elections, candidates are required to reach tens of thousands of people in a very short period of time. Candidates are required to raise large sums of money, making them accountable to lobbyists instead of you. Candidates then turn to political consultants, paying them large sums of money to get their political message out through TV ads, automated phone calls, and junk mail. Delegates represent you. Keep politics local. Come caucus with us. Every 2 years, you and your neighbors come together in a meeting called the caucus to vote for those.
Now, let's see. There we go. So let's talk about why caucus is important. If you can, okay, so this will be interactive, so you don't have to wait for questions. If you could describe a republic in 1, 2, 3 words, what would be your description? What is a republic? What is a Republican form of government? Yes.
Government by the people.
Okay, by the people, that's 3.
Representative government.
Representative government. Anyone else? Okay.
Rule of law.
Rule of law. Very good. Okay, all 3 of those are correct. And that is perfect. You guys did that really good. So, in America, we are a republic. We are a rule of law country. We are a country that has, our government is by the people, for the people, and our government is representative government. So, one of my favorite commissioners was Dean Cox, who passed away. And I remember he used to always say this: government closest to the people governs best. So when we're talking about what we can do locally in our state, in our country, we need to remember that closest right here in Washington County is where we can make the most effective influence and change in our government. So why, there's only, I think 5 states now, maybe 7, that have caucus in their states. All the rest have just gone to straight primaries or some combination. And actually, when you look on the list of who has caucuses, we're not even listed because we have a primary and signature gathering route. And so they don't even list us as a pure caucus anymore, which we're not because of that. But all the states used to have caucus. One by one, they've all given it up. And I am here to say that we are fighting as hard as we can in Utah to keep the caucus here. And the reason why is because of these reasons. A republic is a representative government. When we go and we elect delegates who then go and vet and nominate, and I want us to be sure we use the right words here, because oftentimes delegates think that they elect people. They don't. They nominate people who then you vote for in the general election. You are the ones that elect people. So, but when delegates then go and nominate, they have had, because like it says in the video, they spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending upon when their conventions are, vetting the candidates. They take the time out of their busy schedules to do that and to represent you. So that makes candidates accountable to the people. When candidates are elected in primaries and by big money, they tend to not be as accountable. And you can see that. Look around and think about the candidates that go through a caucus and the candidates who go through a primary, and who does their actions show that they're accountable to? The delegate vetting process is more intense. And quite frankly, we have 2 million people in, approximately 2 million people in Utah, 2 million people out vetting every candidate. That process, it's diluted the more people you have involved. So when you have delegates vetting, it's more intense. Hopefully better choices are made. And of course, it's grassroots at its finest. So for those of you who have not gone to a caucus meeting, this is what happens there. Check in, please be early. Caucus meeting starts at 7, but we all need to be there at 6, because we've got to check everybody in. And we have to check that against, like we have to look at your driver's license, we have to make sure you're on the voter roll. And if you happen to not be affiliated Republican, then you've got to affiliate that day in order to participate in caucus. And just so that you know, and I appreciate the legislature for this, a lot of people are frustrated with it, but I think it's good because we have a lot of party jumping that happens, and especially in the opposing party, they like to jump party to try to influence our caucus or influence our primaries. And the legislature has changed that and made those dates much earlier of when you can change your party affiliation so that party jumping can't happen. If you are unaffiliated, you can affiliate, but if you're affiliated with another party, you can't change that affiliation at caucus. And in fact, the last day to do that is January 9th. Prior to this session, to this election session. You'll have a prayer pledge. We read the platform. We are going to elect our precinct officers, our delegates, and we'll swear those officers in, and then we will conduct the presidential preference poll. How many of you are aware that we're holding a presidential preference poll during caucus this year? Okay, not all of you. So let's talk about that. In 2016, when Donald Trump ran for president the first time, we did the same thing at caucus. So if you attended in 2016, we're doing the same thing we did that year. A lot of people, and I want to educate you because you are the ones, because you're leaders in the community and people know you and know you're political, they'll come to you for questions. So I want you to have the right answers. So when they say, you're taking away my vote, I don't get to vote. Yes, you do get to vote. You're still going to go vote just like you did before. It's just going to be at caucus rather than at a polling location. Nothing's changed. So we are holding the presidential preference poll at caucus, which will save the state like millions and millions of dollars because they don't have to they're not holding the primary, we are. But that's why it's going to cost us a little more to hold caucus. I think there are 5 candidates, maybe 6, Republican nominees for president of the United States that have filed with Utah. So those 5 candidates, or 6, I think it might be 6, will be on the ballot, and you will vote for one that night. The vote will be cast, it will be counted, it will be turned into the party leaders, and then we will submit those numbers to the state GOP. Now, why is it important then that someone shows up and votes? And this is how it's always been as well. And this is what we just have to help people realize and understand, that we still participate in a caucus convention here in Utah. And in fact, in all of the United States, they still participate in a convention, national convention. At national convention, our national delegates that will be elected at our state convention will go to that convention and they will cast a vote on behalf of us. So again, representative government now at the national level, where our delegates go and vote. Now in our bylaws, in our state bylaws, state GOP bylaws, it states that our delegates are bound on the first round of voting, meaning that they must vote the will of Utah on the first round of voting. So whoever wins 50% plus one or more at our presidential preference poll during caucus, all of our delegates will have to vote for that person. So it's really important that that first round, that our voice is made known. And that, so if you remember from 2016, was it 2016, Colin? When Trump ran? Yeah, 2016. So if you remember when Trump ran in 2016, so did Ted Cruz. And in Utah, Ted Cruz won the caucus. And by the time we got to convention, it had become very contentious in the country of who was going to win. And there was a lot of pressure being put on our national delegates to change their vote. And they could not. They were bound and they had to vote for Ted Cruz. And so again, the importance of coming to caucus and being involved so that, and realizing that primaries don't elect our party nominee. National convention chooses our party nominee. And so each state has different bylaws. Some of them it's proportionate, some of them it's bound 100%. It's just different. It's all mostly round one though. And then in round two, so now it's important. So here's another reason why it's important to know who you're electing as your delegates. Because from here, in each of your caucuses, you're going to elect a certain number of county delegates who vote at our county convention and a certain number of state delegates that vote at our state convention. At that state convention, those delegates elect our national delegates. So if you get to be a state delegate, if you're elected at your caucus or whoever is, it would be wise for a state delegate to ask that national delegate who their round two choice is. Because we know they're bound to their first choice. But number two it's more important to me to know who their second choice is. When I'm vetting a candidate a candidate for delegate at caucus, I'm gonna wanna know who are you gonna vote for number two? Because we know you have to vote for number one. And I guarantee you that 80, maybe 90% of those state delegates will not know that. They won't know any of this. So it's important that you know and get educated. And we're trying as a party to really help with caucus, with the video that we're preparing for caucus tonight, to help people be more informed and better educated on what their delegates do and what their delegates are actually going to vote for, so that they can ask the right questions to know if that person really represents them. Okay, so how do you get involved? Very first thing, come to caucus. But if you want to find out what precinct and location is, you're going to go to vote.utah.gov to find out what precinct you're in if you don't know your precinct number. And it changed 2 years ago. So, and in fact, we just found out there's 5 new ones. So if there is, you need to check and make sure you know where you need to go. Once you go to voteutah.gov, and I should have this on here and I don't, you're going to want to go to wcrputah.com, Washington County Republican Party, wcrputah.com, and look for caucus locations, and that will tell you where you go. Okay? Then share your caucus information with all your neighbors and friends and family. Check in early, and if you want to, put forth your name to be an officer or delegate. And then, if you're elected, do your duty. So let's talk about what precinct leaders' responsibilities are. A precinct chair, who's a precinct chair in here? Oh, just a couple. Okay, good. So a precinct chair, thank you for your service as precinct chairs. You are, okay, so here's where you are representing people. So everybody who gets elected represents their precinct in some way. So as a chair, you're going to be the leader of your precinct, but probably one of your most important duties is to serve on the County Central Committee. And the County Central Committee is all the precinct chairs and vice chairs in Washington County. And those committee members, they set all the policy for our party. So they're the ones who set our bylaws. And if there happens to be a special election, which in the last 2.5 years, there have been 7, which is unheard of. I can't believe how many special elections we have done. But if there happens to be a special election, those county central committee, your precinct chairs and vice chairs are the ones who elect. Now this time they don't nominate, they elect who is going to fill the position of somebody who has left their position. And we have had sheriff, county commissioner, clerk auditor twice, to name 3, and there's more than that.
Colon.
Yes, we had to do colon, we had to do, our congressional district 2 has to be done. And that included state delegates, but again, those county central committee members are very important. When you're electing a precinct chair, make sure that they are gonna represent you and vote for who you want them to vote for. Now the vice chair, again, serves on that county central committee and then just helps with whatever else is needed in the precinct. Your secretary assists with those, with caucus mostly and what goes on there, and the treasurer helps with collecting money at caucus. Now, county delegate. We have county, like we talked, county and state delegates. You get elected at your precinct. Now, I just sent an email out to all of our county and state delegates today because yesterday, or actually the day before, I had a candidate, he called my husband's phone. I just happened to be right there by his phone, and it was an unknown number, and I thought, I might answer. So I answered, because he was expecting a call from his mechanic, and I thought, maybe it's his mechanic. So I answered it. And here is this candidate's, one of his guys calling, and he's wanting to know if Gerald is going to be, if he's a delegate, yes. Are you going to be a delegate? I don't know, I haven't been elected yet. And if so, would you pledge your support for this candidate? He got an earful. I was so mad. I'm just like, dude, no, people don't go to caucus to go, and they shouldn't, and I hope none of you have. You should not go to caucus already with preconceived notions of who you would vote for if you're gonna be a delegate. Your job is to go represent your precinct, not represent your desires, represent your precinct. Now, hopefully when your precinct elects you, and if you like X candidate, that's the candidate they would, that your precinct would feel good about. So, as we're gearing up for caucus, if you get calls from people asking you to support them and go to caucus to get elected, to vote for them at convention, I hope you'll give them an earful too. Because that is not representative government, folks. It's not representative government. When we go and get elected to represent a candidate, we're not representing our neighbors. And so I just, and I would, if it, at my caucus, when I go, I will be asking, do you already have somebody in mind you're gonna vote for Senate, for Congress, for everything else that we have to vote for this year? And if they do, they're probably not gonna get voted for by me because I don't think it's right. I think that if we're really gonna be representative, we gotta represent our precinct, not candidates. If you get elected to be a delegate, please attend trainings. And we have 2 days after caucus is our first training. And we tell you all of this stuff that I'm telling you, and we give you all the dates of everything we know that you need to be involved in. The other thing is you need to vet all candidates. I've seen delegates in the past who they come because they're representing a candidate and they don't even talk to or listen to any other candidate. That is not fair to the rest of the people who are running. So if you get elected, please vet all of them. You're gonna attend a convention in the spring, whether that's county or state. You're gonna serve for 2 years. And like this year, you'll probably get a call from your precinct chair asking you to help with caucus because we need lots of help with caucus and getting that word out. Okay, so one additional thing I just learned today. The Democrats, although they are holding caucus the same night as us, they are not holding a presidential preference poll. So the county will be holding their primary election, and it will be on March 5th. So don't let your wheels get turning too quick on what that means. The Democrat primary is an open primary. So anybody can walk in on to their local location and vote in that primary. But that does not mean that it's legal to do that. Well, okay, it is legal to do that, but it is not legal to go vote at a Democrat primary and then come to caucus and vote. In Utah, we can vote once. And if you vote twice, your case would be taken to the county attorney to determine whether or not something needed to be, what's the word? Yeah, well, you have to.
Criminally charged.
Yeah, charge, thank you, that's the word I'm looking for. So, we will have precautions set in place to prevent you from trying that. And if anybody slips through the cracks, then you might get a call from the county attorney. So don't do it. I've heard people say, well, they do it to us all the time. We should just go vote in their primary and then we'll try to do what they do to us. And then we'll just go vote in caucus. You won't be allowed to do that. I just met with them this morning with the county clerk's office, and they will be giving me a list of everybody who's voted. And so we will mark all of our voter rolls as voted in the Democrat primary, and they won't be able to vote at caucus for the presidential primary. So just be aware of that. And so if any of your friends, neighbors have wonderments about that, tell them don't do it, because we don't want them to get in trouble, number one. But number two, we don't want to tell them that they can't participate at caucus either. That would be terrible. All right, any questions for me? I try to cover everything, so.
Am I understanding this right? If
Yes.
they're voting at the caucus for the presidential preference, that means they don't participate in the primary?
Yes, because they're the only people on the ballot on the primary, the primary that the state will be conducting will be Democrats. It's just and I'm shocked, you guys. I went on and looked at the, let's see, let's go back. We'll just look there. This vote.utah.gov. Look at how many, there it is. Look at how many people, I'm like, really, do they? But look at how many people are running for U.S. president. Look at all those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 5 Democrats and 2 unaffiliated, which I'm not surprised about Kennedy, but the other ones, I'm like, who's going to run against a sitting president? And why are they making us spend the money to do a stupid primary for them? Anyway, but yeah, so you could go. These will be on the ballot. I don't know how the unaffiliateds work. Are they on the ballot? They can't be. They just probably go straight to the general. Yeah, so those 5 Democrat ones, and if there's any more who show up, they will be on that primary ballot on March 5th.
That's just the presidential primary.
Yeah, just presidential.
All the other primaries are in June.
Correct. Yep. Okay, did I hear one over here? Okay. All right. Thank you all, and please, yes, Pam.
Is there any way to put like something like on a keyboard code, and if we want to put it on a banner in the neighborhood that says come caucus with me, and they, with their phone, do that QR code and they understand what a caucus, what we do.
Yes, we are working on that.
You need to put your sign up, essentially agenda.
Oh, I keep
I
doing
want to
that.
do it on like 2450, but yeah, I want to get it on broader spectrum.
So right now, you can go to our county party website and go to get information and most of what I've covered is on here. We need to add that video as well. But the caucus boot camp is going on Saturday, and when that's done, there'll be another portion that goes here. Yes, now let me tell you what else we're doing. We're calling it Caucus Concoctions, and we have a committee that is out going to businesses, to like Swig, Pizza Factory, different places that will offer. We're asking them to create a concoction that is caucus red, white, and blue or something like that. And so when people go to that restaurant or to that place, they order that, and then they'll be given the QR code as well that will give them that information. And then also we're hoping that these same people will give a little, like a discount thing, so that when caucus is over, you can take your credentialing thing to them and say, I attended caucus, and you get a buy one, get one free or something like that. So we're trying really hard to get out in the community to help people realize that caucus is here, especially for the Republicans, because they're not going to be able to participate in the primary. You know, they need to come and do the presidential one here. Yes.
Lisa, I'm just wondering, I know you're doing the boot camp, so you're going to tell about every caucus meeting for all of the affiliations, right?
Yes.
So where can they find that information? I've had somebody ask me, and I don't know, but I know it's on the top of the state.
Okay, so when you go on our website and you look under caucus locations, you click on that, it brings you to this. And you can go and see where all of yours are. Now, the ones that have that question mark, like line 20, that's because that's a new precinct that we just learned about yesterday, 2 days ago. And so we've got to find a place for them.
What about unaffiliated people that want to go to a different,
If
like,
they're
you're going-
unaffiliated, they won't.
I'm sorry, like a,
Democrat.
well, not even just Democrat, because they're not having the caucus meeting. I'm saying like a Libertarian or Constitution, where are they holding there? Where can you find out?
I do not know that. I know that the Democrats, I work with Chuck Good, who's the Democrat chair. He and I, it was because the both of us got behind boot camp that we were able to get that in the high schools. I know that he holds 4, 1 for each House district. So there's only 4 locations, but I don't know what school. I'm assuming it's at a school in somewhere in each of those 4 House districts. But I don't know. But I do know that I am assuming that they can go to their website and find their location. I think that
Also, go to your party affiliation
Yes.
website and you'll find it.
yes, and the state, I know 2 years ago, the state, Utah State had when you went to do your vote, put in, to find your voter registration, it would tell you where to go as well. I don't know at what point they will have that. That's why we already have ours up, because the state is way slower than we are. So yes, that's great questions though.
So what's the date of the caucus? What's the date?
March 5th. And we're going to, on the 27th of February, well, so if you're a precinct leader, February 13, 15, 17 are training dates. You can choose one of those dates to come to. If you are brand new to caucus or want a refresher on caucus, February 27th on the west side of the county, we will be holding a training for attendees, and February 28th on the east side of the county, we'll be holding a training for them. Then March 5th is the caucus. We have training March 7th. Our county convention is March 23rd, and our state convention is April 27th. Yes.
So those are the candidates who are gathering signatures. They will appear in June, is that?
No. Yes and no. There are only just a very few that don't do caucus and signatures. I did notice that there was one of the US Senate people put down only signatures. I thought, wow, I would never only do signatures if I was a candidate. But everybody else, as long as they they can choose to do convention, signature, or both. Most choose to do both. And whether or not they collect signatures is a whole other thing, but they leave that option to themselves. So if you see that on there that somebody has done the I'm gonna do both, if you go to the, back to this one, and let's say, we'll just go to John Curtis. John Curtis says he's doing both. That doesn't necessarily mean he's really gonna collect signatures. He's left that option open to himself. Signatures have to be collected by 2 weeks prior to the state convention. So they can start collecting as soon as they do this, but they don't have to. So if they do both, that means they're coming through convention and collecting signatures in the chance that they don't win in convention, hoping to still get on the ballot.
You said March 23rd, the county convention, when's the state convention?
April 27th. So if you're gonna be a county delegate, that means you're gonna be like 2 weeks after caucus, because you're gonna be training and you're gonna be getting lots of candidates calling you and talking to you and wanting your vote. So just like block out that whole 2 weeks, because you're not gonna have time for anything but vetting. Okay, thank you guys. I really appreciate you, and I'm so excited for caucus and the chance to prove to Colorado that caucus works, and government closest to the people governs best. Thank you.
Thank you. We learned a lot, hopefully you did, and Republican women stand with Israel and our Jewish friends because they too have a republic form of government, so they are our ally. Thank you so much to the Rabbi and Lesa. Lesa, let's give them one more round of applause. I'm sure they're willing to answer questions if you want to hang after, but for those that need to go, we will take a motion to adjourn, so.
I motion.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you next month. We're having the Senate candidates, so that's the Mitt Romney seat. So you'll want to be here for that one. So, okay, thank you. U.S. Senate, yes.
All right. You made it. There's so much to cover. It's so much. I mean, I just like things I have. And